Welcome to the intersection of technology, cybersecurity, and society. Welcome to ITSP Magazine. Thank you for joining us for this conversation.
And here we go.
Marco,
Sean.
we're off and running.
Guys.
Hey, look, we're not alone.
We're not alone today.
For people looking at the video, this is a webcast and podcast. So people are going to hear a voice, which is Philippe from CrowdSec. And the people are watching the webcast, they actually can see him standing on a beautiful landscape. I'm imagining Japan. Am I guessing correctly?
Absolutely. I thought at first when I saw this picture, I thought it was like tinkered with, like something that was created by an artist. But no, actually this temple really exists in Japan.
There are some crazy beautiful temple there. I got lucky to see some. So yeah, I recognize it. I don't know which one specifically that is, but I was like, beautiful. So for those listening to the podcast, you should watch the video so you get this treat.
It's definitely a treat.
Yeah, Sean, we're traveling today.
It counteracts this, and I'm pointing to myself.
You are a little bit like
I'm in grayscale, and Philippe's background is in full, vibrant color. So,
which is important because he's the protagonist of the story, him and the company that he represents. So we're traveling today, Sean, again virtually. We're going to France.
We are going to France, and we're going to hear about an organization that's not just solving a problem, but solving it for, I think, the right reasons and doing it in an interesting way. And I'm excited to hear this story and how the company was founded. And I think there might be a play on the grayscale of me versus the full color of Philippe in this story. We'll get to the end and see if I can tie it all back together. But first, before we get into the company, Philippe, a little bit about yourself, how you entered the InfoSec industry and arrived to found CrowdSec.
Sure. Well, back in the days after my school in 1999, there was very few space for security. InfoSec was like really barely something. And I was really willing to do this pen testing thing, like a red team before red team, if you want. And the problem being that people were not so much willing to know about their vulnerabilities. It was not really trendy by then to check yourself, something like this. Really was scary for them, I think, mainly. And on top of that, the business was not so much recurring. Yeah, right? You tested a company, eventually you fix things, and then you fly to the next one. And I wanted to be an engineer and not a salesperson. So once you've done the job, you have to find another thing, another contract, right, to fill the dish. So we decided to move a bit to services, right, to do hosting and mainly secure hosting as much as possible. And our customers were willing, to see if it was better than what they had already. So yeah, this is how it all started.
And hearkening back to the pen testing, and perhaps this relates to the story a bit. I mean, it's a fine line between checking something and crossing the line to breaking something. And then also the findings, how do you analyze the findings and actually do something with it? So maybe if you can touch on those 2 points before we get into what CrowdSec.
Yeah, for the first one, I have an amazing anecdote. I'll try to pack it up in a short time, but that's probably my best anecdote as a pen tester. One day we have a call from a very, very large company, like actually a tier 1 company in France that is actually on the stock markets, right? And they have a subsidiary in China. And the guys are downplaying the figures about what they're producing with the technology of the French guys. So and they ask me okay, our boss is in the plane. He's got the jurisdiction staff with him and security staff and all. And we need to fire this Chinese, he's from the Communist Party. It will be complicated, but we own 51% of this subsidiary. It's actually our company. So we want you to break in, except it's not pen testing. It's just pen. Meaning it's just penetration, right? It's not test. You have to go live real. Like, whoa. Let me review this already with my lawyer first. And it's like, you're not asking the right question here. It's like, the right question is, what's my budget? Like, okay, what's your budget? He's like, I don't have any budget. Okay, well, I still call my lawyer just in case. But so we do this, and while the guy were in the plane, we broke into the company and took the mails and stuff. We analyzed them, and then they sent over a girl that could translate the Chinese for us, and that picked the right elements to be able to fire the head off. So we're like, wow, full success for the operation, right? Bit forward in time, we're like, yeah, but we need to have more footprint into this place, right? So, but they were not sensitive to what we usually use as tricks to get them. So usually we had like the making of whatever underwear calendar, and we would send something, people would click on it and they would be screwed. Or these beautiful pictures of babies in roses and stuff for women that were around the 40s and stuff. But they wouldn't click on anything, our Chinese friends, nothing. So the girl told us, no, send poker chips. What? Yeah, send $50 of poker chips. Like, a special offer, whatever. Next thing you know, in a quarter, we had 200 accounts. So fine, we had the full footprint. And they said, okay, now that we have the proof, you have to lock everyone out. You have to make a full takeover and delog everyone, change all the password, because we think they can sabotage the production. I'm like, whoa. So we did this. Like 2 weeks after, I'm trying to pack it short, I'm sorry. 2 weeks after, I go get my check. The head of security looks at me and says, okay, my boss gave this for you. He told me not to ask any question. I'm the head of fucking security here, right? And you're billing me like 40,000 euros of training in Lotus Domino? Really? What the fuck is this? So the guy was super upset. So I got out of the place and I went into this, in Paris we have this green column where you can buy a newspaper. And I bought the newspaper, and on the front line, the same day, they were showing the company blah, 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 finally solved his problem with his Chinese subsidiary in a friendly manner. I was like, sure, friendly manner. Yeah. So the line is very, very thin sometimes. You have to verify everything, though. You cannot, just jaywalk in this. It's not possible, actually.
Yeah, it's a good story that kind of make you think, right? How different perspective they give different value to different things, and that's a global economy, a global culture. So there is a lot of things that are perceived in a different way, and I'm going there because I want to hear the story about how you felt like that you need to have the crowd, the multiplayer security. You use that to kind of get my attention, like a gaming thing, right? Outnumber multiplayer security solution. And how did you feel that this was the right direction to go in order to resolve? I'm not saying resolve security, because that's not probably never going to happen, but to make a dent into these with a different approach. So what was that origin story for that? So
we are back in 2016 or something like this, during the Olympic Games, right? And we have a large customer that has huge footprint worldwide. And he's selling, he's a sport retailer. So he sells every kind of thing around sports. And obviously during the Olympics, he sells a lot. And some hacker tried to break in, and they were starting to scan the website, probably to blackmail the guys after, And we had a lot of securities in place. It was high security environment, so it was super complicated to put together. It took something like 2 months before you could put a site in production. But after, it was really, really secure, honestly. So the guys start to scan the web and actually fries IPs over IPs over IPs. And after 200, 300, we go, guys, go get some beers and some popcorn, because it's party time, right? And he spent 3,000 IPs on it and didn't even barely make it to the 1% mark of his global scan. So we're like, okay, it works. That's fine. That's cool. Now what should we do with those IPs? Because we know those IPs are used for nefarious purposes. So we should broadcast them, send them to friends, to colleagues, to even competitors, so that the hackers is screwed and cannot use it anymore. And it made its way to my mind. I thought about it for days after with my CTO, and we're like, okay, you know what? There's something in it, because we tried everything else. We tried outsmarting them, with AI, with deception tactics and stuff. It failed. We tried outpowering them. You know, if you take like super big banks, they have hundreds of millions of dollars in budget. So they stack layers over layers over layers. And I take the Captain America syndrome as a parallel. You know, it's like if you have a super soldier, super equipped with all the latest gadget, but he's just facing 1,000 people, 1,000 enemies. So just in Hollywood has he a chance to win this fight. In real life, when you fight against 1,000 people, you die, period. Whatever the amount of money you invest into your army, if the guys have 1,000 Kalashnikov, even though your guy is super equipped, he dies. So we try outpowering them. It doesn't work either. So why not try to outnumber them? Outnumbering simply, like just be more numerous than they are. And you know, report faster than they spawn their attacks, their IPs and stuff. We want them naked in the street. We want to burn all the IPs they are sheltering behind. They are hiding their activities behind rogue IPs, IPs they borrowed, IPs they stole, you know, and we want to get rid of all those layers of protection for them. And then we can talk one by one, eventually outpowering them or outsmarting them.
And so I like the outnumbering concept. And so talk to me a little bit more about how that works. Is it strictly an IP-based thing, or is there some context around what's happening, the behavior, what's going on as well? Tell me about that.
Yeah, so the product principle is a free open source software. So it's really literally for free. It's what we used to call an IPS. So the term is not much used anymore because marketing comes with a new word every other day. So now it's XDR, EDR, whatever, you name it. I don't know. It's an IPS. It's an intrusion protection system. I cannot put it in simpler way. So basically it prevents
where it
intrusion.
sits is different perhaps, but
yeah. So if you ask Gartner, they would put you in another category, but whatever. We are an IPS, right? So we look into behavior in your logs. We look at your logs, we parse your logs. They are not exported, they are treated. All of this is happening locally. With an agent, it passes your log and it finds some patterns, some behavior according to scenarios. So behavior can be anything you want. It could be like if several ports are scanned while I'm being port scanned. If plenty of requests on my website are pointing to 404, 403 or 50 something error codes while my web is being scanned. If I have a lot of transactions that are $0.1 where my average cart is like $30, I'm being credit card stuffed. If the same IP is using several different identification to try to connect, I'm being credential stuffed. So there's a lot of behavior you can detect, like PHP Armageddons and stuff like that, resource abuse, ransomware, 11.7 DDoS, you name it. Everything leaves logs, and every attack tends to leave trace in the logs. So once we have identified this behavior, we block it, or actually you block it. We prefer to say you remediate, right? So the agent is detecting, and we have other components that are called bouncers that would address the problem. And you address it in the way you want. Maybe you want to just pass the information to a SecOps desk, right? So the guy would just study in depth what is happening. Or maybe you want to send it to a SIEM system, SIEM, you know, that would have all the security incidents in the same place. Maybe you want to block it in your reverse proxy, in your firewall, in your WordPress system at a layer 7 answer of some sort. So whatever is your answer, it's fine. You can do it with a bouncer. And once you've done that, you protected yourself. So this is really the IPS part. But, and this is where we outnumber, we share this IP if you want, and only if you allow us to. We share this IP, you share this IP that you detected with us. We do a curation. We remove all false positive, we remove all poisoning attempts of people that try to make us think that Googlebot is a bad actor over the internet. And then we share the IP that has been validated with all the network of users that share the same technological footprint as you do. So if you run, say, Apache and MySQL and Linux, if an IP is targeting this, we'll share this IP with you so that it's blocked right away. It doesn't even can talk with your machine anymore. So this is where the crowd effect is kicking in. Not only you protect it on a local behavior standpoint, but also when you found something, you share it with the network, and the network finds a lot of things and share it with you, reinforcing everyone, making some sort of internet neighborhood watch, something like this.
You know, I think we talked about this the first time we met. Well, let's say met, not in person yet, hopefully soon. But we were going over the idea that, especially nowadays with all these conference that happen and some are canceled, and the people are missing this opportunity to share intelligence. We were wondering, and we had this conversation with other people on the podcast, why do we even wait to go to the conference, to get on a stage, to share something that at that point, at the pace that this industry goes, is probably already too late, right? So that's great. I mean, don't get me wrong, guys. I mean, instruction and learning and unveiling technique, that's great. But we need to do something immediately. So the intelligence share, like I found something, we're all on the same team. Let's stop the bad guys. This is not just about something that you want to keep secret for yourself because you make something positive. I mean, tell me about that attitude, that mental change, that mental switch that you're trying to push with what you do.
Yeah, and actually, Marco, it's why in the first place it's open source. I mean, right. We are open sourcer fundamentally, and we like the concept and the principles of open source. But this project couldn't work if it wouldn't be open source for two main reasons. Right. One, people want to know what's in the product because they want to be sure that we do this in the proper way, that there's no shenanigan, no backdoor, that we didn't miss any vulnerability or whatever, okay? They want to partake into this. They want to bring their own knowledge, their own scenarios. They want to enhance and adapt to their own environment. It has to be free because, otherwise you have mechanically a barrier and not so many people will use it. So you lose of the effectiveness of the global system. So it has to be free. It has to be open source. That's already two very big, important part of the concept we are up to.
For sure.
Right? The sharing is about being free somehow, So, and now the community told us, okay, the agent is free, that's fine. The bouncers are free, that's fine. But the CTI part of the product is not open source. It's free, okay, but it's not open source. Please open source it. We're like, yeah, sure. So it's not that we want to hide anything. We don't want to be like a censorship bureau of some sort, that would be shady somewhere in the internet. No. So we will open source this consensus, the way we deem an IP is dangerous or not. But we need for that to clean up the thing. We are actually like scratching and digging hard into this. So it's the moment where the line of codes are moving on by the day, So you're extremely careful not to broadcast any false information, any false positive, but it's still like a work in progress. Once it's stabilized and that we can document everything, comment everything, so that it's ready for open sourcing, we will do it so that the community can partake and say, okay, in the recipe, I think we should include this. And that would be a good thing. And, they will then reinforce this feeling of being all together because we don't hide anything. We don't have any secret sauce or whatever. So this leads us naturally to how do we make money, right? Because we're not an NGO either. So, and this is what I told my investor. I said, don't expect monthly recurring revenue right away. It's not the point. We're creating a gold stash, welding into the mine once it's there and identified, right? So let us first grow. And they're okay with this. Say, grow your network. I'm fine with this. Take my money, grow your network. This is your sole goal for now. We agree with the strategy. And then later on, we will release premium feature. So everything will stay for free for the community, the CTI part, the behavior part, everything. But if you don't want to share anything with us, maybe you're not at liberty of doing so because you're a big bank, a big business, and you have super difficult constraints, legal one or whatever. Okay, fine. If you want to you can still get the CTI even though you're not sharing. You can also still get, you will get features like fleet features for organizing thousands of machines or tens of thousands of machines. We're discussing with a lot of hosting companies. So their goal is to automate this on a large scale. So they would need other tools to automate this and instrument this. This is what we'll retail as premium features. And the other thing we'll retail as premium features is the CTI access raw. You don't share anything, but you want to know, right? So you say you are a camera manufacturer and your firmware is doomed. There are holes everywhere. It's just a joke. You can double check that an IP willing to peer with you is clean before accepting it, and it's just an API request. That would be billed to you, that would be invoiced to you. So this is how we make money, in a very soft way, far away from the community, and for the community it's all for free forever. I can tell it now, it's forever free.
So tell me a little bit how this fits into an organization's larger network and endpoint management program, their security operations program, because you have network admins, you have endpoint admins, you have SecOps, you have DevOps, you have device ops, right? You also have incident response. You have a risk team that's looking at stuff holistically. How does this fit into that environment? Who touches what? Who gets what information? Who contributes what information? And what do they do with it?
So one of the goals of the project would be to address a larger crowd. So it had to be possible to install it with a one-liner. With a dbn, it would be apt-get install CrowdSec. It's fine. And you don't have to configure anything. You don't have to know about anything. The soft is doing its magic, and that's all. But if you're like, say, a very major tier 1 hosting company, you may want to have a deeper, more complex usage of it. So that's why in the first place, we decoupled detection on the one end and remediation on the other end. Because if you have a monolithic system, it's kind of old school, right? It's like back into the 2000s. Now in 2020 or 2021, you have cloud and you have architecture that are complex. You have microservices, you have containers and things like this. So you may want to detect in one place because you have concentrated all your logs in this place. And you may want to address specific answers in different ways at different points of your infrastructure. So say if you have a bouncer that is just passing the information to a SecOps desk, fine. It's up to the SecOps desk to take a decision that deem like smart to remedy the threat. If you want to automate things, you can inject an IP into your firewall. So it would be more like the firewall team that would deal with this. If you have an internal threat, like you use the product as a canary, and if you get scanned from within the internal LAN, which is usually when the hackers are making lateral moves, right, trying to further spread their footprint into your systems, basically mainly for ransomware lately, then you would maybe tell this to an admin system guy. Tell him like, whoa, your station are being scanned. I am being scanned. I'm a canary. I'm not supposed to be ever addressed. So deal with this because there's an emergency here. And maybe you would tell right away the CEO with a pushover message because, it's probably ransomware that is being striking the company. So I cannot say like who is directly using the product. What I can tell you is we have a bottom-up approach. People that find value in the product, inject it into the company. Usually they POC the system, they make a POC, and then they go to their CTO and say, or CISO and say, look, I get value out of it. We block things. We have a better view of what's happening. It's for free. Am I at liberty of deploying it on a larger scale and sending the information to the SecOps desk, integrate it in our DevOps images so that we can terraform this everywhere we have machines and stuff like that. And maybe the CISO will come and say, okay, I need to have policies. Is it possible with your product to have policies? Yes, it's a premium feature, but you can have security groups, security policies that you would enforce on a subset of machines for various reasons, right? So we try to make it as versatile as it can be. It's a bit of the Metasploit of defense, if you want.
Love it. And so I'm gonna get your thoughts on two different things here. One is, I know there's a lot of ISAOs and ISACs that are industry focused. I'm not certain how much level of detail they get in terms of what's going on and what they can share back to their communities. So I'd like your thoughts on that because you're across industry, so not tied to a specific market. The other thing is there are CTI threads feeds. I'm sorry, not threads. CTI feeds that focus on different aspects. This is really directed at things targeting organizations, maybe not just information on the dark web, perhaps. But so maybe talk to me a little about both of those and how the information you're collecting from the crowd differs from both of those entities, and then the information you deliver back into your customers. The context and the data and the detail within it perhaps is different.
Yeah, so I think first of all, the main difference here is like when you have a CTI, usually what it does is the guy are spawning what we call honeypots. So there are fake services that are simulating that they are HTTP vulnerable or SSH vulnerable or I don't know, Samba vulnerable, and they are like attack me, right? So they spread those machines over a couple of clouds on 100 to 100 machines or more, and they listen to whatever is thrown at them. Fine, but there's a limit to this. The first thing is it's kind of doable most of the time to identify fake services from real services. Let me give you an example, a very simple example. There are plenty of others, but a very simple one. If you have a web shop, supposedly you can make an order, right? So I can go into the tunnel and ask to pay, but a fake site will never have a real connection to a PSP. So at that point, I can pinpoint that this site is a fake one. It's a CTI site. So I should blacklist it from all my attempts to hack in anywhere, right? Where we are different here is that we are not fake services. These are real servers running real services. So, you cannot pinpoint them. The second thing is the scale of it, because if you have 100, 200 servers, that's nice. But we already are counting tens of thousands of machines. So meaning we are probably the biggest honeypot network ever. And we are collecting in real time tons of information coming from whatever settlement. Could be a university, could be an individual in Iceland that installed the product to just defend his home, could be a sweatshop in Thailand, or a large enterprise in US, or just a school in Russia, or whatever. We have people from 100 different countries running across all this IPv4 and IPv6 space, collecting information constantly on real services. There's no like 2 clouds, 100 machines simulating. It's a real thing. So it's like if you would be in the 5th Street in New York, right, 5th Avenue, and instead of having a cop at all critical places, which could be maybe 50 cops over the length of the 5th Avenue, every other guy in the street would be a cop looking at what you're doing, right? You don't know about it, but they are all very vigilant about what's happening. This is exactly what we're up to. This is why we have another information that is probably not available yet on the market because of the scale, of the magnitude. Now, our position about information is it should be free as a software. So we don't make you pay for this. You get it for free, right? The only thing we're asking is like a bit of patience, because we need to do a deep curation on this information, because we can be tricked into thinking that an IP is bad where it's not the case. So it's complicated for us to handle this general of Sibyl attack, which is a concept that is about being poisoned, like having a false information and spreading it around. So it's more about this. But other than that, I think the granularity, the complexity, and the magnitude of the information we get is unprecedented. There are stuff we wouldn't see though. Like for example, or stuff that we see that the other couldn't see as well. Like say if you use the agent to detect precise scenario on a WordPress system, right? Or on a Magento system, we would know that those IPs are specially used for compromising Magento systems or WordPress systems. And that is super difficult for anyone else to know, because you need to have a real Magento system or a real WordPress system set up to see this. And you have to have a bouncer and an agent that is able to understand what's happening on the layer 7, on an app layer. So that's why we have kind of a unique point of view on these things. And our goal is to answer to anyone asking, what is this IP? We'll tell you, okay, this IP is banned for that reason. It's been seen doing this for the last 72 hours in this context and using this kind of scenarios. You could let it loose, but we highly recommend you block it.
Right. As you're explaining all of this, I just can see this to be a layer above everything else, right? Then you go into other cybersecurity solution that you're already using. You have other vendors, but this is the first, let's see if we can clear these or not, right? Kind of like a shield around this. And I'm wondering, as you said at the beginning, the more people that you have in the crowd, the more powerful this system is. It's in the numbers. So one of the first thing that I'm connecting the dot is researchers, like university, where they're really kind of trying to stay ahead of the game and without even an interest into an economic interest, right? So what's your relationship with them? I mean, this is a big part of what you do, this kind of collaboration, and maybe some scenarios where this turned to be very effective.
So there are a few categories that are allowed to ask us for access to our data lake. raw access. Like really, they can go into the details. We have a law framework in Europe, which is called GDPR. So we are extremely careful about that. They have to sign a ton of paper and stuff, but they can get access to the raw data lake, meaning they can, have a unique point of view over what's happening on a large scale. And maybe they will see things that we have not thought about, right? Because they are researchers, so they are ahead of their time by definition, right? So we let them in this data lake. So researcher can do this. Students that are in later stages, police forces, government forces that are non-repressive, should I, highlight. And that's pretty much it. So they can dig into this, it's for free, and we ask just that they quote, our name because they use our data set. And in return, we also allow them to integrate their own experiences. We have a few universities we're working with. They are creating experiences, so scenarios in our case, that we will broadcast to the community and say, okay, if you want to help, and it's only on a voluntary basis, you can install those scenarios. You have to know that they will collect this and this and this information, so you have to agree with this, right? And it's for this kind of research. Like this person wants to know more about like how ransomware is evolving over time or stuff like that, right? So we would then embed the scenario of this usually PhD student, diffuse it into our network, let it collect information and give it the information back to the student so that he can make, progressions in the field of cybersecurity for us, for everyone actually.
Mm. Yeah, that's really cool.
And I'm wondering, do you actually, so maybe not specific to their research, but just in general, are there any unique elements that kind of rise to the surface, or unique scenarios or common scenarios? Anything from the data set that you're seeing, like this behavior from this set of IPs from this region is always ransomware. So we can say a lot of ransomware is coming from this region, or we see a lot of activity targeting retail, and these are the types of IPs, and these are the types of behaviors that we're consistently seeing across that. Anything? I'm just picking out stuff from the air here, but anything interesting that you can highlight?
Yeah, so we are in very early days, Sean. So it's really at the very beginning of this. So we're collecting already a lot, and we have a data scientist that is coming in September next month, to specifically dig into this. We are also an AI team we are putting together that will also look into those trends in a different angle. But what we see already is like IPs are highly specialized. It surprised us a lot. Like IPs mainly don't change so much their behavior. The ones that are scanning go on scanning. They are rarely used for two different types of activities, like scanning and SSH brute force, for example. It's rarely the same stuff. The ones that are doing SSH brute force, they don't also do like Active Directory or Samba or terminal server brute force. Usually they are that much specialized. The other thing is they are doing it on a large scale and rarely like headshots. So meaning we see them in many different places across the world pretty quick. Actually, they are scanning very fast. And they are usually we get at minimum for an IP 8 different reports that it's doing this in real time. So meaning an IP is really consistently tagged into one activity as much as we can see, and over time is quite consistent, and it's specialized and does this day in day out. So this is already one of the findings we had. It's not true for the entire set, but I'd say it's true for 90% of the set already, which is very meaningful. The other thing is like by AS, autonomous server, so group of IPs that are handled by the same operator, and sometimes by states, we see some AS that are just, it's just a joke. They are constantly, forever doing the same thing with a stubbornness that is incredible. Like there's one joke in the InfoSec community is that somehow you're not famous as long as some AS didn't visit you, right? Because it's so constant. It's so always a time that one comes into mind. It's called the number 13 Jing Rong Street. So it's China, obviously, right? And this one is involving all shenanigans you can see for the last decade or so, right? So it's consistent, not over like just a data set. It's consistent over a decade. I already saw this AS 10 years ago, right? So things that are coming from that one, highly suspicious, right? and sometimes within a range, often enough within a range, you see not one IP, but like 255 or 253 IPs being compromised within this range. So meaning the whole range is under the control of the same individual. Whether it's like a transversal attack and they compromise all the servers, or they are directly in charge of this autonomous system. So yes, some patterns start to emerge. What we see the most is like SSH brute force. Like it's constantly like it's really impressive. And for your knowledge, like a year ago, a bit more than a year ago, I made a paper about like the number. I spawned a box on the internet just to know how many times per day it was scanned and stuff. It was roughly 1,000 times a day, right? It was probed 1,000 times a day. And now, 16 months later or something like this, it's probed something like 3 times more already. So it's just exponentially growing. And I cannot say that they are subtle. Like really, they go for the masses. They go for some few groups are really targeting specifically one company or one vertical, but most of them, the vast majority of them are just, they shoot and they spray and pray, right? Like you say.
Well, I suspect, Philippe, and you may or may not confirm this, but I suspect there's also a data lake in the cybercriminal world that lists target devices, right? So 1,000 hits 16 months ago, you probably ended up on a list that criminals buy and use, and they know what to target. There's something here, it has this stuff running on it, let me go after it, even if it's just fake.
And you're right, Sean. First of all, they are extremely organized, right? Extremely organized. So we talk about an industry that has the GDP, the third GDP in the world, right? It's huge. There's so much heap of money on the table that you cannot think that they are, opportunistic, random guys trying to be in the space. No. They are extremely structured criminal. Like, first of all, extremely well equipped and extremely well trained. So let's take this for granted. So next thing you know is they do what we call mass scans. So they scan extremely fast the internet to see what popped, what's new, what are the banners, so what service is running on those machines, and eventually they store this into a database, right? And once they have an exploit that they can weaponize, they know exactly what machine to target instantly. Like say they found, I don't know, whatever number of faulty SSH or FTP server in version 3.9.2, right? They have an exploit for that one. So they stored this into the database. They instantly put the number of IPs that have this 3.9.2 version of this FTP server, and bam, they send 20,000 exploit right away onto those machines. Next thing you know, in seconds, they have 20,000 machines under their control. So yeah, it's extremely structured. And also there are the ones that are brute forcing their access constantly, on everything that pop over the internet. And they get pretty much successes because people are not careful enough. And even some major disasters that happened lately, if you look deep into the SolarWinds thing, being brute forced on your FTP, honestly, in 2021. So if it can happen to SolarWinds, it can happen to anyone, right? And if by rebound, because the hacker was smart in this one, they used the SolarWinds as a base to rebound to other targets, and a lot of them actually. And so if they are smart enough, they exploit it in such a way that you would not see coming, and you get compromised from the back actually. That's why we're saying put canaries. Listen to yourself internally into your network, because this is the best way of seeing if something is going awry within your walls.
And that's pretty much the concept of intelligence. I mean, we can go back in time to, any war, any Roman Empire. I mean, you always want to have the spy. You always want to know what is about to happen. It's a way to predict the future. I'm not saying that you're doing some magic there, but if you listen, you may capture something that is relevant, and then you share it with the community, and everybody contributes. So, Sean, there's no doubt about the value of it.
No, not at all. I think the interesting thing for me, and you touched on this in the very beginning, Philippe, that we're organizations are spending millions, if not billions, of dollars standing up multi-layered endpoint systems, multi-layered networking systems, multi-layered cloud security stuff, and there's stuff in the cloud and on-prem to manage all of that and secure all of that. And then we have the users that are sitting there vulnerable as well. And what you said is, what I'm picturing is a cyber criminal environment that doesn't have to do any of that. So all those funds can go straight into understanding their target. So why not fight at that level? And I'm not saying get rid of all those protections.
No.
But to not fight at the same level as them, as a crowd.
It's an asymmetrical fight. It's an asymmetrical war, because look, you as a defender, you're not in charge of time. You have no control over time, right? You don't know when you will be attacked. You don't know when there's a vulnerability. You don't know when the patch will be out, and you barely know when you can deploy it. So already time, not on your side. Second is money. As you highlighted it, many institutions are spending like hundreds of millions of dollars and get pwned. And the people that pwned them most likely didn't even spend $10,000. So the ratio between the defender and the offender is such in a tremendous way in favor of the attacker. So basically, money is not on your side either, right? So then there's a perimeter. The perimeter exploded. Like before, we had a garden wall. Everything was inside. You could protect yourself and safely sleep at night with your cuddle bear, saying, "Okay, my firewall is my cuddle bear. Everything is fine in the world." Now you have cloud drive, SaaS, containers, VMs, bare metal. It's scattered across. You don't even know where it is. So the perimeter exploded in surface. The number of attacks exploded. The number of attackers exploded. The time and money are not on your side. The only way of doing it is bending. And this is what I call the Sarge wisdom. Ask the Sarge, the surgeon, okay? You're being attacked. Say you have 100 terrorists outside of your wall, right? And you're in the place where you have all the soldiers. What will the Sarge say? Will he say, "Hey, go out one by one, try to pick them out"? Or B, "Let's band together and get all at once, all together to fight them"? What do you think the answer will be?
And guess what?
Yeah, B.
They're probably communicating across everybody.
And what are we doing in the IT industry? A, let's all defend individually against this herd. Sure.
Right.
Yeah. You don't fight a swarm of bees, right? Never ever you fight a swarm of bees. Well, that's the point. That's what we are doing. We are trying to outnumber them.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to connect your teddy bear with some alpacas, which are part of your logos. So you want a crowd like that. You want to hug some, a bunch of alpacas with very cool sunglasses. So people, if you go to the website, you actually will see that. They're not llamas, right? We went over that last time.
Yeah, they're not llamas. Llamas are not safe to handle.
Exactly. This is a much more compact crowd.
A friendly crowd.
Friendly crowd. And at this point, the call to action is for everybody to find out what CrowdSec is. Either they want to use it as a business, they want to be part of the crowd. The invitation is open for both sides. And to go on the website.
It's not limited to any particular size organization or industry. We talked about universities contributing and also analyzing, but small, medium business.
It's a universal party.
Yeah.
And that's what I like about it, right? It's kind of like agnostic. It's good for the industry. That's the end of the story, right? So we will have resources on the page for their story, which is the CrowdSec story, with links, of course, to the website to learn more. There'll be an article and various other resources that everybody can find there. So, Philippe, thank you so much for this first chapter. We hope there'll be many more. And Sean, did you like this story?
I love this story.
Good.
More about this story on crowdsec.net and in the show notes. So with that, Philippe, safe handling of those alpacas.
Sean, Marcos, thanks a lot. That was a delicious conversation, really.
Absolutely. Really enjoyable. We hope the audience thought the same thing, and share it with everyone. Everybody can be part of this. It's open. Let's go.
The core of this story. Share.
Exactly. What's the point?
Bye, guys.
Bye. Take care.
If you enjoyed this podcast, share ITSP Magazine with your friends, family, and colleagues. Thank you for listening.